Long distance trade in Kenya. Factors, growth, and effects.
This is not the Mbuzi I thought of, but still good and something we don't get in Kisumu.
Unless, of course, we get it shipped there through trade.
Did that happen during the 19th century as well?
Great transition! The Arabs greatly sought the ivory and slaves that were located inland Kenya. They could offer their own items and coastal items as well, like cotton and beads.
But the Arabs didn't go themselves at first, correct? Which is why they became friends with the Akamba and Mijikenda, to let them do the work and bring the items there and back.
That's correct. They would travel mostly to Mount Kenya region, so the middle of Kenya, regularly. They did not mean that they would sometimes go as far as Lake Victoria, though.
So they had to have encountered the Kaguya and the Luo tribes as well.
Yes, the Akamba and the Mijikenda met many of Kenya's local tribes along the way. This led them to be very friendly and outgoing to make trade happen among themselves.
And these inland tribes didn't just go to the coast themselves?
The traders were very clever by telling scary tales of the coastal Arabs, such that they were mean and unfair traders. This helped them convince the inland tribes to stay there and not deal with such horrible people they described.
Very smart. How long did this relationship last?
Starting in the middle of the 1800s, the Arabs began organizing large trading trips or caravans to go themselves as far as Uganda for items. As they began to learn the routes, the Akamba became less and less needed.
Can you briefly describe in detail how they actually did the trading? There had to be bases set up as camps or something.
Yes, I will, but you should know most of it by now. The tribes, such as the Akamba and the Mijikenda, would get items from the Arabs and the Swahilis. They would walk to Mount Kenya region mostly, but sometimes as far as Kilimanjaro and Lake Victoria.
No Maasai trading?
No Maasai trading. The Maasai were known as very unwelcoming to strangers, so they avoided them. The items were carried by porters. These were very strong men, sometimes slaves, who carried the items.
Where did they sleep?
There were trading camps set up around Boni Hills, Taveta, and Buganda. Here, rest and trade happened. The coast would send guns, glass, beads, swords, coconuts, and jewelry in exchange for ivory, slaves, hides, rhino items, and animal skin.
Who was paying for this?
The Arab and the Swahili traders would put up most of the cost since they got most of the items. The system of trade was bartering most of the time, which was in effect, but cowrie shells were used eventually. Remember those?
Yes, they were used as a currency money for a while.
Good memory. Now, can you think of any long-lasting outcomes of the trade?
I believe the most obvious effect would be the increased communication between the tribes of Kenya. Since they are meeting much more often than usual, there would be new things introduced to each other, such as the guns or the coconuts. Another new concept would probably be Islam.
Good thinking. The new and constant communication did lead to new ideas and items to all groups involved. As trade increased over the years, the recent and unknown Africa became more and more open to foreigners and, as you will see, missionaries and adventurers. This led to a steady flow of cheaper and better foreign goods that sold more than the local goods.
Is that a good or bad thing?
Well, that depends on what side you are on. If you're a local, you no longer have a steady source of income.
Oh,
And we see that happening even today with food or items that can be imported in. This leads to a few select people to gain a large amount of power and wealth.
Ah, like the Chinese fish taking over Lake Victoria fish. I see. Now, back in the 19th century, did people gain power as well?
Actually, yes. The chiefs of tribes along the main trading routes became very rich and powerful through trading items for weapons and goods. Example of such people included Nabongo Mumia of the Wanga Kingdom.
Like Mumia sugars?
Yes, Mumia's sugar. The name stands strong today. Of course, as the trading grew, the demand for slaves did as well.
Just inside Kenya?
Actually, across the world. Come, let's go to the port of Mombasa.
Twende.